We're going to start with internships. So Emily, if I can ask you to share my screen.
Yeah, you should have access to be able to do that. Let me know if you don't, and I'll double check.
I think I'm good.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. All right. Well, one of the things that you might want to take a look at after this evening is the Department of English and Creative Writing and Films website. And you'll go on to internships and career resources. And we've got a bunch of different things for you to take a look at. One of these is our list of available internships. And here you'll find various organizations and companies that have available internships for you. There are nonprofits, there's obviously for-profits, and we put these into different categories, marketing, editing, and things like that, businesses, we have all the nonprofits at the top. Most of these are unpaid internships. Some of them, though, you can, you might be able to negotiate some type of small stipend or something like that. So never rule out contacting these organizations to see if they have anything available. The other thing is that you can look on Indeed. You can also, Emily's going to talk a little bit about their resources tonight, so you can always find opportunities through career resources online. We pretty much have had somebody intern at all of these organizations, and so we have some good insight into what these positions can offer you. There's also availability on campus as well. I know that we have had a couple people intern at the med school, and they've helped out researchers and so forth, compile and collect and write and publish data. I know we have one person who actually was a part of the publishing team and got her name included as an author on the article. We also have some positions in publishing and TV. So those are definitely resources that you're going to want to check out. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can approach this at Oakland. You can actually do an internship for credit. And if you're an English major, I'll help you facilitate that internship. If you're a creative writing major, you're going to want to reach out to Annie Gilson to have you help organize that. You can also do this on your own. You don't have to do it for credit. You can use our resources. We can connect you with people, our contacts and so forth at these organizations, and you can pursue and do the internship on your own. You're going to hear from quite a few people tonight saying that they did an internship and they discovered perhaps that it led to something that they were interested in and kind of a career path, or maybe it showed them that they weren't interested in this particular topic at all. And that's really what these internships are meant to do, for you to try it on. And is it something you like doing? Do you like the setting? Do you like the skills that you're employing? Do you like the atmosphere, the setting? Do you like the work? You can leave these experiences and so forth with many things or just a few things, but they give you access to the professional work experience, and they're good little stepping stones that perhaps can lead you in the right direction. So let's hear from Emily now, and she's going to tell us a little bit about how you can also access career services to research these opportunities as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing a little bit more about internship opportunities. My name is Emily Cutlip, and I am a career consultant for the College of Arts and Sciences. And I recognize some of the names here. I know that we may have worked together in the past, so it's good to see a lot of you. I am actually going to share my screen as well in just a second here. And what I'd really like to show you all is Handshake. Now, I know that many of you may be familiar with Handshake, but I do just want to go over a few important things that are tied to Handshake. So all students and alumni have access to Handshake, and this is kind of like the hub of all of our career-oriented resources, including a calendar of events, and that's where you can make appointments with us. But before I dive into Handshake, just a 2-second overview. Those of you who haven't engaged with our office, Career Services can help you with anything and everything career-oriented. We help students with resumes, cover letters, mock interviews, job and internship search strategy. But we can also help with things like LinkedIn, optimization, as well as career exploration. That's actually probably one of my favorite discussions to have with students, to explore, what you can do with your major and what things might be a good fit for you. I talk to students about salary negotiation. So really, you name it, we're here to help you. And I have a colleague as well who, Caroline Kettleson, who works with the College of Arts and Sciences specifically. And we specialize in working with students and alumni like you. So please come and see us earlier rather than later so we can help you plan for your future. Handshake is kind of, again, like the hub of all the career stuff online anyway at OU. So I just want to direct you to a couple of key things real quick. If you aren't sure how to log into Handshake, if you go to oakland.edu/career services, there will be a link, but the direct link is oakland.joinhandshake.com. And so I'll go over just a couple of things I think are most important really quickly. Top left-hand side, we have a jobs tab, and this is where all of our employer partners, including people like Jeff, post jobs and internships for our students and alumni. This is also where every single on-campus job will be posted. So that's something to think about. The most important thing is you want to make sure you're using filters, because as you can see, there are over 20,000 current opportunities in Handshake. So we have to use the filters. And I will say that Handshake is heavily geared toward internships and entry level. There are going to be opportunities outside of that as well. But because it's geared very heavily to our undergrad population, we're going to see a lot of internships and entry level opportunities. So for example, if I wanted to do technical writing and I was going to do a mock job search, I'm going to hit the filters. Let's say I want a full-time opportunity. I would love to get paid as well. Let's say that's important to me. I'm looking for a full-time job. I'm going to keep rolling through. There's a lot of different great filters you can utilize, but minimally, I am going to at least just add a major. Let's say that I'm a creative writing major. We'll go ahead and pop that in here. And from there, I'm just going to go ahead and show the results. That brings me down to 8,000. Now I'm going to add technical writing as my keyword. And if I want to bring it down even further, let's say I'm looking within 50 miles of Detroit, that's going to bring it all the way down to 21 from over 20,000, as you could see. So these are opportunities that closely align with the keywords that I popped in. But come and see me and I'll help you develop a very tailored approach to this that works specifically for you. Just a couple of other really quick things, because I know we have an exciting guest list tonight to hear from, not including me. Everyone else is very exciting. Top left-hand side still. Keep your eyeballs on the events tab. This event, for example, is in Handshake. You are all open to come to any and every career services event that you want to, even if you are an alum. And then finally, at the top right, if we hit the Career Center, I do just want to show you all that this is where you can make appointments with people like me. So if you jump into, hopefully my browser loading, the appointments tab, it's super easy. You can schedule in-person, virtual, phone, email appointment, and you kind of just plug in a day and time that works for you. So it's so simple. And then the last thing I want to show you is our resources tab. So some folks aren't aware that we actually have a big old library of resources that we offer up to students and alum outside of career coaching appointments. We've got stuff for resumes, interviewing, LinkedIn, you name it. But I will just specifically point out that we have a College of Arts and Sciences specific folder. And there are things that are tailored to arts and sciences students like you. So I won't kind of go through all of these different amazing resources, but I will specifically go all the way to the bottom, and you'll see that we have resume samples by major. So we've got some for creative writing, for English to check out, if you're looking for some inspiration. But at the end of the day, I had a couple minutes to share some key points with all of you. So if there's a few things I want you to walk away with, it's students and alumni can use our services. Come and see us earlier rather than later so we can help you plan for your future. Handshake is an amazing resource and tool for you. And you're in charge and in control of your future. And coming to events like this is a really great step forward. But come and see me, keep my calendar busy. With that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I will be here for the duration of the event. I'll pop my information into the chat, and I'm going to hand it back to Rachel, who I think will be re-handing it over to Jeff probably.
Okay, thank you, Emily. All right, we're now going to hear from Jeff Granite, and he works in the Oakland County government. And I'm sure he'll tell us more about what he does and where he works and how he ended up at this particular position. And maybe maybe advice that he can provide you as far as working in a similar position. So thanks, Jeff.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Granite, and I'm a recruiter at Oakland County Government in Waterford. I've been here for a little bit over a year. Prior to that, I worked in career services with Oakland County, Michigan, worked for 15 and a half years. So I'm well versed working with job seekers and employers. Now, in my time here working at Oakland County, I've been exposed to working with, I work with different departments and help them post jobs and get the word out there. I also, go to job fairs and meet with different students and help them, and I have a strong understanding of what departments are looking for. And I also have a strong understanding of job seekers as well. And one thing I will tell you is that a degree in English or creative writing is very valuable. And don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Now, what's very important about this degree is it teaches you the ability to write, it teaches you the ability to think, and the ability to analyze things. These things are so important in the workplace these days. Some of the, it's very important to have these skills, regardless of what position that you're in. Now, it's on you to be able to sell yourself to employers and how you can do their job. But having a degree in English or creative writing, it gives you options. You just have to explore your options and figure out what you want to do. So, you can work in, media, you can work in journalism, you can work in education. You just, you'll look at the job description, see what the different places are asking for. And then on the application or on your resume, you need to show how you can do those things. For instance, at Oakland County Government, we have different positions for, we were just recently posting a communications and marketing assistant position. You needed a bachelor's degree and 1 year of experience in either public relations or advertising or marketing and stuff or something of that nature, or closely related fields. So it was a close to entry level type position, but what's key when you're applying for a position at Oakland County is that we don't look at resumes at Oakland County, we look at what's on the application. So you need to sell yourself. So somebody that has a background in English is going to be very comfortable with articulating themselves on paper. It's not like that at every employer, but at Oakland County currently, that's what's required. that's, one of the things that I want to get across to you. But what's really, another thing that I want to mention to you again is having options. You don't want to, the nice thing about this degree, it gives you options. Like I said, you could do something in marketing, you could do something in journalism, you could do something in education, you could do something in government. Sometimes if your degree is too specialized, and employers will only see you in that certain area, and it might be difficult, to expand your horizons. But when you have something that's a little bit more broad, you have more options. And it depends on what you're interested in, the different kind of courses that you've taken, any kind of internships you've had, and then, utilizing your network and being able to sell yourself. So make sure that you take advantage of all the resources that are available at the university to help you in your pursuit of what you're looking for.
Excuse me, Jeff. I was just wondering, you mentioned that the position that you recently advertised asked for a year of experience. Would you count a person's internship toward that experience?
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. They just have to show, whether it's an internship or a full-time job or whatever, they have to show that they did public relations or marketing or advertising or social media, whatever it was that it asked for on the application. If they had a year of it, it doesn't matter whether it was as an intern or a full-time position, as long as they got that 1 year of experience. They could have had 3 different internships. If they have that experience and they show it on there, then it would be counted.
Thank you. Terrific.
Do you have any skills that you think students should, try to strengthen while they're at OU? I mean, what kinds of things do you think are most important for students to emphasize as far as skills?
Two of them. And, people might laugh at me when I say this, but the ability to communicate with other people effectively. In the workplace, you're going to be working with all kinds of different people. Some people you'll get along with, some people, not necessarily. That's what happened. I'm working at Oakland County with 5,000 different people. I work with a bunch of different departments. I'm assigned to people, different departments at different levels. Not all of them like me, but I do my best to work with them and do my best to help them. And the ability to effectively communicate with them is key. I ask questions, and I try to do my best to provide quality customer service. Taking classes where you learn to effectively communicate with people and understand people, psychology classes, speech classes, communication classes, stuff like that will help you. Anthropology, sociology, understanding people is key, even if you're shy. When I was in school, I was shy, but over time, I've continued to get to work with people and I've gotten more comfortable. And sometimes I still am shy, but I've improved in that area. I've got more comfortable, and it's not going to go away. So the ability to communicate effectively, verbally, and then the ability to communicate effectively in writing. I read applications all day, and boy, oh boy, this is a real struggle for people. Now, I know doing applications aren't people's favorite things to do, but this is a job application, so you should be putting forth effort. And if you are putting forth effort, and this is how some of the things are coming out, then, oh my. And this is why the English classes and the English degree is going to help you, because you're going to be doing a lot of writing and be prepared for the workplace. I know, when people were in school, some people didn't like writing, but it's a necessity. in almost every job, at some point, you're doing some kind of writing. It could just be as small as an email to somebody, or it could be a report or preparing presentations, but this is not going away for anybody. So you need to have the basic fundamentals down and continue to be practicing it. So it's critical.
Okay.
That is such a great point. I just wanted to, sorry, Rachel, I wanted to emphasize that talking in class is so important for students to develop this skill. It's really not something that we do it because we have you do it because we want to fill up space. It's such a great skill. Thank you, Jeff.
And you don't realize the importance of it till a little later on. When I was in college, I did a bachelor's degree in social science, and then afterwards I went back for a master's in HR, and I avoided those things, and I was very uncomfortable with them at the time. And since then, I've been in the workforce now for about 15, almost 20 years, and I've realized the importance of it. And I wish that I had practiced harder. And I hadn't been so shy when I was in school. And even if I would have worked harder on overcoming, my fears with some of those things. I wish I would have taken that speech class, because even if I wasn't going to do it a ton in the workplace, at least I would be prepared.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Does anybody have any questions? And I don't know if you'd be willing to pop your email address in the chat so people can follow up with any questions. Okay, well, you're more than welcome to stay, Jeff, but if not, thanks for sharing your expertise and insight with us tonight as far as skills and how to approach those applications and so forth in order to be successful. So we greatly appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to second that. Thanks so much. And if it's okay with you, would you like to have students contact you or not? Absolutely.
It's a pleasure. I love going to job fairs and doing panels and talking to people. I'm still practicing, as you can see. I get nervous, but I enjoy it, and I enjoy helping people. So anything that I can do to help the university and the students, I'm always glad to do.
Great. Then just put your email address in the chat and students will be able to copy it down. Thanks again.
Yep, no problem.
All right. Rachel, shall I pick up now?
Sure, thanks.
Okay. So now we come to the alumni portion of the evening. We are so lucky to have 5 excellent alums with us, and I'm going to just go in alphabetical order. So I'll just give you a brief overview of everyone. We have Lolita Chimella, who is the deputy editor at Jalopnik Geo Media. We have Troy Frisbee, who is at Hearst Television. We have Lucas Jeffrey, who is at United Wholesale Mortgage. We have Brandon McCulloch, who's at Commerce Township Library. And we have Sarah Williams, who is at Pine Rest. So Lolita, please give us, so that everyone's going to give us just a brief narrative of their experiences and any insights or tips they have to share. And then at the end, they can answer any questions that y'all might have.
Perfect. Thanks, Annie. First, everybody, I apologize. I'm actually on the road for work/fun vacation. So I'm in an RV, but we are stopped. So we had some quiet. But I'm Lolita Camello. I'm the current deputy editor at Jalopnik, which is part of Geo Media. If you're familiar with sites like The Onion, Gizmodo, that's all part of our group. So serious news to an extent, but also very good at the satirical. I've been there for a little over 1.5 years. But I actually, talking about the importance of internships, I had done 3 throughout my college career. And they were really great jumping points to kind of get an idea on what I wanted to do in various spaces. I did an internship doing marketing with a local music booking company for a few years. I also did an internship with Crane Communications, which is actually how I got into the biz. And then I also did an internship with the Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix. Sorry, they changed that name a lot. It took a while to get to where I am. The internship I had while I was or the Crane internship I had through a family member that I met, who introduced me to one of the vice presidents actually at Crane Communications. And we had a very nice talk and found out that he was where I applied. And that was kind of my foot in the door. A really good demonstration of networking and how important that is. And that led to a full-time paid position and got me started in the automotive industry. Jalopnik is actually an automotive and transportation-based publication. So a lot of the stuff that we work on, we write about racing, we write about cars, we test cars and write about them. There's a lot of really interesting and fun facets and a lot of travel. I've always been a fan of the industry, and that was kind of what led me to there. But there's also a lot of other things that I had to do in between before I got to this position, which, after I'd gotten my full-time job at Crane, we actually lost our account that we were working on and we were all laid off. And this is just a couple years off after graduation. And one thing that I found is like one of the most important things to keep in mind in this stuff is there's always going to be a part of you that wants to have a job in your field, in your industry as much as possible, but you also have to be able to pivot and make the best of the situation. Not working is not always an option. So, interim, I was a manager at a Banana Republic for almost a year until I got back. I ended up finding a job. From there, I ended up at a dealership for another year and a half and was laid off during the pandemic. But that was something that I was able, even though it was a dealership and it was related to the auto industry, I also created an opportunity for myself there as well. And so we started a blog where I would talk about car maintenance and stuff. So I'd still got that writing aspect in there, but I wasn't completely removed from it, but it wasn't initially what my job entailed. And it took a while before I was a news producer on the west side of the state at Kalamazoo, WWMT Channel 3, and then I ended up at Jalopnik. And so there's a lot of other stuff in there, but the biggest thing I want you guys to keep in mind, aside from even the pivoting, is creating opportunities for yourself. It's so important to meet people and talk to them and ask them questions. A lot of them, myself included, are always here and happy to answer your questions. That's something that I also did a lot at your age and even post-grad, is figuring out where did I want to work? Where did I want to be? What would be a 5-year, a 10-year goal? And then also looking into those companies and asking people, finding them on LinkedIn, finding them on social media and other ways to connect with them and see what it is that they do. Some of them will be blatantly honest. I found a photographer because I was interested in that at one point, who did stuff around the world. And I messaged him because I was curious, and he's like, in all honesty, I'm miserable because I'm never home and it's a hard life. So, with individuals that I've mentored in the past, I always like to help you guys kind of feel out, like, what is it that you're interested in? What's the reality? What can we do to kind of bridge that gap? What are things that you'd be willing to do? And kind of helping figure out, who you can contact, or have some homework to find those companies, find those places that align with not only your values, but your goals and dreams. And at 35, I'm now the top woman at our publication. I'm the first deputy female editor at our publication. And things are going really, really great, but it took a lot of work and a lot of understanding, research, and talking to a lot of people to get here. So, don't ever discount the conversations that you can have, whether that's going to events or doing things like this. Those conversations, even if they're just sometimes seem like the most mundane, can change your life. Was that enough, Annie?
That was terrific, Alita. I apologize. I forgot how to pronounce your name in the
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
in the years since since I actually recited your name aloud.
Totally okay.
Thank you so much. And so that was just a terrific information, and we will come back to that. But let's now go to Troy and hear from Troy.
Hi, yeah, so I'm Troy. I'm a senior content producer at Hearst Television, producing long form video here in New York. But when I was at OU, I double majored in English and journalism. And I was fortunate that both departments really pushed me to do internships. So I did a few as well. One for a radio company, one for a TV station, which I think was listed, the community affairs internship at CBS Detroit. I did that one back in the day. And I did one for a nonprofit. And as was said earlier, very, very helpful in terms of finding out what you want to do. Also very helpful in terms of finding out what you don't want to do. And then when graduation was rolling around, I was really lucky that one of those companies, the radio company, was hiring for a position that I was right for. So I did start after graduation. Not as easy after that. I worked there for 2 years, but I'd always wanted to live here in New York. Not the easiest thing to try and convince a company to hire you from a different state. Just there's no shortcut there. It's just a lot of applying and casting a wide net, especially when you're early in your career, and just being, staying at it. And eventually a digital media startup, they did take a chance on me, and I moved out there to do short form video. But I didn't have a huge video background. I took a filmmaking class in high school. I took one radio and TV class, for journalism. But they were like, okay, you're going to be primarily writing. So, again, to what Jeffrey was saying, just having good writing skills and communication skills, even if you don't have the exact skill set for that job, sometimes people are willing to take a chance. So I worked there for several years, and then I got laid off during the pandemic. During the time that I was working there, I also was doing some side work reviewing cabaret, basically for free tickets and the occasional free drink. And that was just, to be able to do something more creative, because short form video, I was producing, little minute long news videos for brands like Time and USA Today and Hearst. Like the videos that play within articles. So, I liked doing it. I was writing every day, but not the most creative writing. So it was nice to be able to have that outlet still, even if it wasn't a full-time job. And then when I was applying for the job I currently have at Hearst, it was a long form video job. And I had never written video, the work we're doing now is half-hour episode, like TV episodes. And I'd been writing primarily minute-long, news clips. And so, the reason that they took a chance on me as well was because I had video experience and then I had long-form writing experience. So those two jobs were separate. I didn't have long form video writing experience, but combined I had enough experience that they said, okay, we've taken a look at your samples and you did a writing test and we think that you can do this. And so my biggest thing is be adaptable, try and learn skills at your current job that could help you with the next one. Even if it's not your favorite thing to do, it's important to know a little bit of everything. So even if, we're English and creative writing majors and we don't love math, but it's important to know analytics. So just, being able to know a little bit of everything, even if it's not, something you want to make your full-time job, might very well help you down the line. And then in terms of interviewing, my two big things, I think I would say, think in advance about how your past work would set you up for success in that role, even if the two jobs seem completely different. I worked in a library for like 7 years through high school and college, and it's like, well, multitasking, prioritization, customer service, like working with people, communication, all of those things will help you even if you're doing a completely different job. And then the other thing I would say, and be adaptable. Those are the two biggest things. And then lastly, always have an answer for why do you want this job? Why that's the biggest thing. I did some internship supervising in my first job at the radio company, and we would interview potential interns, and it happened a lot more than once that people did not have a good answer to that question. And if you don't know why you want to be there, that's it's an automatic, then what are we doing here? So I think just really knowing what you can bring to the table and why you want to be there are two things that sound simple, but it's true. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, that was terrific. Thank you so much, Troy. Okay, let us now go to Lucas.
Yeah, hi everyone. So my name's Lucas. I graduated from OU in 2021 with a degree in creative writing with a fiction track and a minor in English. And when I was at OU, I was working for a nonprofit as a communications facilitator. So I was doing a lot of our weekly newsletter and our website and our social media. During the pandemic, I was doing our live streaming and our online videos, things like that. But then I moved to become a technical writer at United Wholesale Mortgage. And so what we do is write documentation. There's a team of 10 of us, and we support the entire IT floor there. And so that's like 1,600 people. And we're anytime, a team or for a project needs something documented, needs something written out for it, they come to us and we'll work with them to write that out. So that's whether that's steps or just general outlines of processes, but it's very expository writing, very informational. And so, yeah, I took the work there. I had never actually, I'd never worked in an IT role. I didn't have experience technical writing before, but I applied to that and actually wasn't what I was looking to go into. I was more interested in copy editing or editing in general. But I went out for that. And technical writing is just a different style of writing. It's something that you have to learn, but it's very, all the writing that I did creatively, even though I don't do creative writing on the job, it still informed all the writing that I do every day at work. And that's something that I always, I'm very thankful for. It's I get to come to work every day and just write, and I have documents that are mine to write. And that's kind of the thing that I get to do. So I do, so our team actually, every time we hire people, and we've hired like a round of people twice since I started there. I've been there for about a year. And we'll probably hire people again in the future very soon because there's a lot of work to go around for that. But I've actually gotten to sit in on the interviews both times you did that. So I know pretty specifically what we look for, which I thought might be helpful to share. But so like I said, first we look for like that you have an interest in writing or that you have experience writing, and there's no one right answer to that. We have me who's who majored in creative writing. We have someone who went to OU for journalism on our team. We have somebody who worked in the automotive industry writing for that. So it's really, we have somebody who did a blog, and that was the only writing he'd done, but that showed that he had an interest and a passion for writing and skill in it. So really having that interest and that experience. And like I said, I didn't have any IT formal experience, but I still was able to, our company really invests in training you up and teaching you. I spend a lot of time in the classroom at work, several hours a month, because they still offer courses and teach you how to do all these things. So there's that. So, coming in, being willing to learn. And I think that's a big, piece of advice I try to give to people is, don't be afraid to apply for jobs outside your comfort zone or things that might require learning. Because that's, being a great student can get you a long way in a role because it always takes, learning. A big thing that we also look for in interviews is people who are comfortable with giving and receiving criticism, because all our documents that we write are peer reviewed, three rounds of peer review on each document. So a big part of what I do is review documents for other people, get feedback, give criticism on it, mark it up, do line edits. But then I also get a lot of that on my documents. So we really look for people who are comfortable taking that feedback, especially from people who, might not be as experienced as you are, or getting feedback that you might not agree with, because that really shows, if you're able to work interpersonally with people. or if you're able to, our job is very collaborative. So it's being able to go up to somebody and say, hey, you marked this up on my document. Can we talk about it? Can we talk about why you think it should be written this way? Things like that. So being very collaborative. And all the writing workshops I took at OU really prepared me for that, because, we do have that kind of round table of what do you think of the piece? What could have been done better? What could have been, what was really good? So things like that really, really help prepare me. And then we also, just in general, having bringing writing samples in is something that I always encourage everybody to do when they're applying for a writing role. You'd be surprised how many people come in without writing samples. But yeah, so that's always very helpful. And yeah, just being able to feel comfortable asking questions and going into situations where you don't have all the answers and you need to learn. I know I said that, but just really, really being a learner in your role is so important. Like I said, I went in with no formal IT experience, and now I'm writing about things in IT that are would have been way over my head a year ago, but it's, always having your mind open and being able to pick up and understand things, and then ultimately get to write about them. And that's really what I like best about the role, is that just how much writing I get to do. So yeah.
Oh, that's terrific. Thank you so much, Lucas. Brandon.
Hi, I have a new microphone. Can everyone hear me? Okay, cool. So my name is Brandon McCullough. I'm a public librarian. I'm an adult librarian for Commerce Township Community Library. I love my job. Let me go ahead and start by saying that, but I learn new things here every day. I do have three main responsibilities. First being to actually man the reference desk and handle other people's information needs. We also do a lot of collection management. So all of the books, all of the materials, the media that you see, we're responsible for purchasing that. We go through professional reviews to determine what to purchase for the libraries. We have to stay within our budget, but we try to provide our communities with as much material as possible. But really, what I really love is the ability to create my own programs. And that's where I get most of my creative outlet from. Like, for instance, later this year, I am starting a monthly writing club here at the library based on a local author policy that I wrote myself. So in a way, I'm able to facilitate ways for new writers to come in and just have at it, and they'll have me available. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little excited. I'm a little nervous. I hope it doesn't fall flat, but things like that, programs that I can create, that's really where the creative side of having a creative writing degree comes into place. I do have to do a lot of communications, setting up other type of programs like meeting presenters, meeting people. And ultimately, that's what my day-to-day entails. My undergrad was through OCC, and that was a library technical degree. So I already knew that I was headed towards that path, even though I was, my bachelor's is in creative writing. So I really wanted to find the perfect niche where I could combine my love of reading with my love of writing, and I'm able to find that. And also being able to work in a nonprofit organization has really, really changed how I feel about my workplace, because I've worked in other companies where I didn't truly believe in the product. I think I listed some things on my resume, but this is something I believe in. I'm a frontline worker in the battle to keep information available for everyone. I think the buzzword for it is the freedom to read. I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to the news, but there have been a lot of attacks against schools and libraries about some of the materials that they keep, and it seems that it's more politically motivated than it is anything else. So that's really one of the most fulfilling parts of having this job, is we just keep the information flowing and make sure that nothing is restricted to anyone, because everyone deserves to be able to read what they want to read. Now, when I was searching for this job, what really helped me was that I was diligent. I checked nearly every day for any openings, anything that was available, and it eventually just became a numbers game. and it's just, you have to keep trying until you at least get your foot in the door. Now, once you get that foot in the door, it really helps to thoroughly read the job description that's available. If you can find out information about that company before you go, do that, because any information that you take going into it is just going to help your chances in landing the job. If anyone is interested in becoming a public librarian, Wayne State University has the only accredited master's program in the state of Michigan. You can take it 100% online, and the good thing about it is that there is no thesis waiting for you at the end of it. You just have to turn in a portfolio with some of your coursework, and write a graduation assessment, which writing, I mean, come on, that's what we do. So that's really it. And another good thing is that once I leave the library, I can turn it off, being a nonprofit. So I have all the time I want to try to write at my own procrastination pace. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Brandon. Okay, and now we hear from Sarah Williams.
Wow, that's a tough crowd to follow. Everyone is so put together and organized, and Lolita and Brandon, and you guys are like amazing. I'm not nearly that prepared. So yeah, my name is Sarah Williams. I work for Pine Rest. We are the third largest behavioral health organization in the country. We're an organization of about 2,000 employees, and our marketing department is 6 people. So we are really busy. I've been there since 2015. I absolutely love it. I just felt like I arrived within the first few weeks of working there. I do all of the social media and digital communications, a lot of website work. So, if you go on the Pine Rest Facebook page, LinkedIn, that type of thing, pretty much all of the content there I create. So videos, artwork pieces, promoting our media spotlights, that type of thing. But yeah, I think I'm the oldest alumni in the group here. I graduated from OU in 2002, which seems like a really long time ago. And I guess the biggest point I want to make is I had no idea what I wanted to do career-wise, even at graduation. And it was almost like, I was graduating college with, really high GPA. It may have even been 4.0. I'm not sure. But developmentally, I was more like 16, 17 years old. I was a very free spirit, writing for a skateboarding magazine and playing drums for a local band that was trying to break out there, and just like driving my mother crazy because I was not focused at all or really interested at all in trying, everything that everyone who's here tonight, you guys are trying to get tips on how to interview and find an internship, and you're like all really responsible people. And that's just really not where my head was when I was in your position. So, I'd say things to my mother like, I'm thinking of moving out to California and see if this skate magazine will hire me full time, or, our band is going to, try and see if we can, start traveling around and maybe someone will pick us up. And like, I think she just wanted to lock me up until I had some sense in my head. But I did figure it out for myself eventually. And Annie Gilson was like an incredible mentor for me at that time. So she'd take me out to lunch from time to time, and she always let me be myself. And I just remember you never stepped on any, I don't even remember what I was telling you anymore at that point. I'm not sure I'd want to know, but she never stepped on any of my ideas or, tried to tell me that, she just always supported me creatively. But like I said, I did finally get my act together, and I got my first real job at an insurance adjusting firm. And really that was just for the purpose of like picking up basic office skills and, dressing a certain way every day, and in the office at 8 and out at 5. I had been waitressing before then. So I really was interested in a job where I would have my weekends back to myself. Shortly after that, well, I was there for a few years, and then I moved to Grand Rapids, mostly for family reasons. And that was probably the best thing I could have done for myself, because, you know, I'd lived in Royal Oak my whole life. It's a great area, but I was kind of stuck. You know, I wasn't really finding a lot of new opportunity. So moved out to Grand Rapids, got my master's degree at Grand Valley State, and did a couple of internships here. And, you know, I've been at this for a number of years now. I still don't really know what I want to be when I grow up. So if you look at my resume, it's not really like an intentional career path that I've created for myself. Every job has kind of just been like the stepping stone to the next tangible thing that I wanted in life. Like, okay, you know, I met my fiance and we want to move into an apartment together. Okay, so now we have to get better jobs so we can afford to do that. Then we wanted a house, you know, then we wanted to start a family. So it's like, those are the kind of life events that pushed me and my husband to kind of seek those higher challenging jobs. And it's so true what they say about just being open to pivoting and taking on job roles that you might never think that you would do. So for like 3 years, I organized educational programming and continuing education for realtors. Like, can you think of anything more awful? You know, like getting up at 6 a.m. to run a conference that starts at, you know, runs from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. But I did it for 3 years because that was the time when we were starting our family, and the money was better than, you know, I'd ever made before, and it had benefits. And but yeah, I ended up at Pine Rest in 2015. I was just kind of looking for something that just would give me the opportunity to do more of what creative work that I like to do. When I first got I applied online and I got a follow-up interview, and they send you a form to fill out, or they did at the time, that had a bunch of questions about my knowledge on, you know, website programming and really technical stuff. And I almost didn't continue the process because the form was so complicated and so technical. I thought, I'm never going to get this job, and I don't want to spend 2 hours filling out this form for this job that I'm clearly not qualified for. And they hired me. And I told them at the interview, I said, the form was really intimidating. I'm not a very technical person. And they were just looking for someone, I think, that was open-minded and wanted to take on all of their social media channels, which was fairly new back then. So long story short, I've been there. It'll be 8 years next month, a month from today, actually. And it's just awesome. So yeah, I would just say, when you're starting your career, just keep your head down and work really hard, and don't expect a ton to happen in the beginning. Just focus on learning and, being decent to the people you work with. And if you can find a mentor or someone who wants to show you the ropes, take advantage of that.
Oh my God, that was so great. And you're so funny because you're like, oh, I'm not put together, but you totally sound that way. So this is a lesson for everyone in the fact that it's not how you feel internally, because everyone has these same skills. You're all going to be, all students are going to be able to go out into the world and do this kind of amazing work. So I did want to pick up on one thing, and that is Troy's mention of the usefulness of screenwriting for video making. And I do think that that's something that has changed over the last few years, last 5-10 years, I don't know, that a lot of tech writing now is also video writing. But Lucas, you are clearly still doing the old-fashioned kind of tech writing, right? You're not actually writing for videos. Okay, so it's really important to know that some people will be making videos now, or doing what Sarah's doing, making social media posts, making websites, etc. But there are other positions still that are doing this kind of more old-fashioned / workshop oriented kind of tech writing. But what is also really cool is that listen to how creative everyone is, like Brandon getting to create programs that bring in writers, and I loved Brandon, your information hero plug there, because it is so true and it's so important. I don't want to take up more time because I want to be able to let you all ask questions if you have them. But I'm really so excited. What a great panel. You guys are amazing. I love you all so much. Oh, okay. So questions, anybody? They can go in the chat, or you can speak them aloud. And remember what Jeff said, and that is that every time you speak aloud, you are practicing for your jobs. So these are your people. We love you. We are here for you. So it doesn't matter if you're groping. Say something if you have any questions, or if you just want someone to expand on a particular point they made, just say, "Can you tell me a little bit more about this?" Or "I was interested in that." But it's really good for you guys. So come on.
I just had a quick question. My biggest thing was, if you could put your emails in the chat, and if we had any questions. I know we're supposed to ask questions now, but my brain is really frazzled trying to take in all the information. But if we could have your emails so that we can contact you with other questions too.
Sure, thank you. That's a really good point. Jeff, remember that Jeff did put his email in there for folks too. Thank you, Lalita. Anybody else have questions? Or again, just anything that comes to mind.
When you're applying somewhere and they want writing samples, is there anything from your college experience that you could include in there, or do they only want like writing samples from an actual like internship?
Who was it that talked about writing samples, bringing them with, that was you, Lucas. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I've seen quite a few portfolios from people, and they, really what we're looking for in our tech writing specific role is in those samples, the ability for people to write, kind of expository writing or informational writing. But that doesn't mean we discount anything that's not like that. I mean, we've gotten, short stories or, like news articles or blog posts, as I said. And that's all, anything that shows that you can write, honestly, is valuable, especially in for tech writing, because we're focused just as much on style as we are on content. Showing that you have a mastery of a certain style, if you're able to write in a prose style, if you're able to write in AP style for journalism, and any kind of writing sample shows whatever kind of skills you have in that genre. So all of it's valuable.
Anybody else any panelists have anything to add to that? Do you think that it's worthwhile for students to do a mock-up post if they don't?
I can add to that.
Please.
Sorry, I'm in the dark, so I'm just going to leave the camera off. But yeah, one thing, because I do a lot of hiring for my job, and, whenever we've had people turn in a writing sample, sometimes, yeah, the only experience or writing you might have might be something out of college. So, picking your best representation out of that. But also a lot of writing jobs, especially in the journalism side of things, sometimes they'll actually give you a small assignment and have you write something like a short 300-word post to kind of give them an idea on what you can produce in a certain amount of time, and what your creative capabilities are just in that stance in the moment. It's not and like Lucas said, it's not a make or break type situation. we're looking at a lot of factors. Can you put together a cohesive sentence and, write out a story from beginning to end? How is the material that you're using, or if you're looking up stuff, how do you do with referencing? And another thing that I actually helped me a lot was I actually started writing a blog myself, because I didn't have enough experience to do all the journalism stuff that I was applying for. So I started my own blog and website and was writing up articles and stuff on their motorsports. And that's actually what led me to do stuff with Porsche and with an F1 magazine that I work on. So, don't feel like you're limited to just your college stuff, but you can turn that in, or, work on something tangentially that you can also turn in that's something different, shows you have initiative.
That's a great point, Lolita. Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to add another question. Shannon O said, I'm curious if Lucas's work team does their workshops in person, or is it more of an online communication with coworkers?
Yeah, so it's a little of both. We are all in person at EWM. So we primarily, we'll put a document up for peer review. Someone will take it and they'll add comments or markup in Microsoft Word, and they'll send it back. And then when you get your feedback back, you can go through it. Some of it, if it's just like line edits, like you misspelled this word or you're missing a comma here, you can just take that on your own. You don't have to talk to them about it. But if there are, I always like to leave suggestions or questions about the content, say, hey, this seemed a little unclear to me. Could this be explained more? That's when, we'll come over to each other and we'll say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's discuss it together. Sometimes we'll bring in 2 or 3 or 4 more people if it's a question that, it's not really sure how to phrase this kind of thing. Let's get more minds on it. So, it's both digital and very collaborative verbally. Something else we do is after a document is published, we'll schedule a retro for it, which is when we all get together in a meeting room, the people who peer reviewed that document, and they say, okay, let's look at the feedback that we got on this document, and what made sense, what didn't make sense. And since we do 3 peer reviews on each document, we say what was caught in the first peer review that wasn't caught in the second peer review, or in the third, and vice versa, things like that. And that helps all of us become better at giving feedback on documents. So it's very verbally collaborative, and it's never we always say the best thing you can do in the role is to ask questions of other people. Just roll over to their desk and be like, hey, I want to ask you about this, things like that. So it's collaborative in many different senses.
That is such a great way of putting it, that questions are super important. And when you ask questions, it shows that you are wanting to learn, thinking critically, which is so important. Being respectful of other people's knowledge, which is one of those bedrock skills that English and creative writing students develop in the classroom. I want to underscore that, right? That Jeff was talking about how important it is to communicate with others effectively and respectively, to try to understand them, to just coming to every situation with curiosity. That's so important. More questions, anybody?
Yeah, I had a question, and this might be a bit vague and it's going to depend on career, but there was a few mentions of video production and social media management from some of the panelists. And so I was just curious in general, what are some other skills that you might not learn strictly within the traditional English curriculum that are kind of good to pick up in college or in the beginning of a career that might be helpful later on the line?
Nice question, Sage. Anybody? Let's go in order. So let's see, Lolita, anything?
Yeah, a couple of things. One thing that I found really helpful was photography. I actually do have my certificate in photography as well. But that's, in this multimedia universe that we now live in, it helps to be able to do more than just writing. So photography, I was a screenwriting major when I was at Oakland. So all of that plays a really good part in the social media side of things. And the other thing is being able to put together like a pitch or like a creative deck, if that makes sense. So thinking about like one of the things that I encourage my writers to do and that I work with our social on is being able to take a story and figure out how to push it and make it more prevalent on social media. So you kind of put together a plan of, all right, we're going to write this article. We're going to do this kind of video with it because we can. Here's how we're going to do this on Twitter. So, you know, being able to kind of create a bigger picture for things that you're working on as well. Because especially with social media, like a lot of those are campaigns. So you're always kind of looking ahead to, you know, what's a holiday or what's something coming up or what are we publishing or, you know, what for marketing, like what are we putting out then? And it gets you a better, if you can put that together like you would like a story pitch, or, you know, if you want to be a novelist and you're pitching a novel, like you kind of have to think of it that way.
Sorry, Lolita, could you just define the term creative deck?
Yeah, so a creative deck is a fancy way of saying a PowerPoint in layman's terms. But typically what it has is it's a proposal. So what you're going through for us when it comes to working for like when I did magazine work or what I'm doing now is it kind of lays out the mission of what you're going to be doing for that specific project or writing, whatever it is. So for instance, this month we were doing we called it Jalopnik Spring Tune-Up, and it's working on a bunch of wrenching articles that talk about things, DIY things you can do on your cars. But instead of just writing those articles, there's how are we going to draw more attention to it? So we're also laying out a calendar. What days are we going to be putting up certain articles? Are we going to turn it into something bigger later? We have like a slideshow that basically has all of the articles we've put out so far for this month, but then also how to approach that on social media. And so it's basically, I could hand this to you and you could see exactly what we're doing for, if it was a month-long campaign, what we're doing each day, what's coming in, what's due, what's going to go out on social. And sometimes we even pre-write some of those posts to give them an idea on what that's going to look like on the page when it does go out.
Wow, that's amazing. Lots of information there. Thank you. All right, let's go to Troy. I mean, you brought up, you make videos, so anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think, you know, especially in my little corner of media, everything just keeps becoming like more and more condensed where everyone's sort of expected to do so many different things. And so there are there are infinite paths, but there are two like kind of primary avenues where when it comes to video, I think, where jobs either want you to have strong video editing skills or audio editing skills, you know, same thing for you know, radio and other audio mediums. You know, knowing those programs or knowing field production. So it's like if you're not doing external production, you might be expected to know how to edit your piece. If you know, or you may be doing field shoots and know how to, you know, how to lead a field shoot and that kind of thing. So, I mean, in terms of OU, there's, you know, radio and TV class or, you know, other filmmaking classes, you know, working through for the Oakland Post or WXOU, you know, getting writing samples at the Oakland Post. So I think those are sort of the biggest things that I can think of is just, it's a lot of just, you know, they want like hard skills sometimes.
That's so helpful. Thank you. Okay, let's go now to Lucas. Anything you can think of that would be useful?
Yeah,
I mean, obviously you brought up the workshops.
Yeah, and I mean, so I did, you know, videos at my previous job, and that was, I mean, in terms of like I'd been into filmmaking videography since I was like 6 years old. So, and the role actually it didn't include any of that when I started, but I started in January 2020, and then in March 2020 it became a huge part of the role. and do, writing video content and doing live streams and things like that. So that was a big part of it. That just was fortunate for me that I already knew how to do that. But in my current job, I think something that I use a lot that I picked up at OU is just learning how to communicate and knowing how to interact with other people and get information from them. Because I interact with a lot of subject matter experts who they have the information I need to write down, and I need to get it out of them and understand it myself, and then figure out how to write it. So that's just learning how to listen to people and process information and organize information. And luckily, I feel like that's done in like every class. If someone's giving a lecture, that's kind of all you do is taking in that information and processing it yourself. So that's a really big skill that I feel like I use every single day. Is just knowing how to communicate with people and listen and understand.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Brandon.
My field is a little different, but I've actually had to use a lot of my graphic design background, which includes a little bit of photography, a little bit of video editing. Mainly we just use it for marketing, because a lot of the programs that we want to do for the community, we want to be able to reach them. So we do a lot of marketing through social media, and that could be creating your own videos or TikTok or whatever. It could end up, you can end up using any type of graphic design skill. Definitely will probably help you, especially if you just happen to know web design. That's going to make you more valuable in the long run. It doesn't matter what field you end up, somehow that always comes into play. But one thing that I always was able to take from writing circles was the ability to listen and analyze. Because a lot of the time you have to do a lot of problem solving. And you truly have to understand what the problem is, break it down, decipher it in order to help someone reach where they need to go. So that has always been a helpful thing. And I was resistant in writing circles. I'm sorry, but yeah, it was really helpful.
That's terrific. Thank you. I mean, the graphic design and also, again, active listening. We keep circling back to these really crucial bedrock skills. Sarah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought, I was such a writer when I was graduating from OU, and I was so focused on the writing, especially fiction writing. And now I just, most of what I do is graphic design and video editing, which, that's not something I would have envisioned, but you can surprise yourself by how well all three of those just come together really naturally, and you're able to pump the content out. As far as video creation goes, I would say just keep in mind that you're competing with so much media overload. I mean, anybody, you open up any social media feed and, there's just tons of sponsored content and content from, all other organizations. So I would say keep your videos really tight, and less is more. We really try to keep most of our videos 30 seconds or less. You can make a really strong impact in as little as 15 seconds. And I've even done videos that are like barely 5 seconds long and still make that, get that response that we want to get on social media. Much longer than 30 seconds, you're just not going to have the playthrough. The audience, you're going to lose them. But we use WeVideo. That's the video creation that the software that I think we're paying for it. It's really user friendly and it's pretty low cost. So if you're just looking for something to mess around with and get familiar with, just buy a basic subscription to WeVideo and get in there and start messing around. And we use PicMonkey for most of our graphic design, which is also a free or very low cost software. And, we're able to do everything out of PicMonkey. So every year we have the same conversation. Is it time to buy, I can't remember the name of the program, it's like a graphic design program. And we're just able to do everything that we need out of PicMonkey. You just have to be creative and kind of think outside the box and have fun with it. That's the most important thing. If you're nervous about, oh, I don't have any video experience, it's really fun once you get into it, and it'll kind of do the work for you if you're doing it right.
That's so interesting. And a lot of classes now are actually, I mean, I am, for example, allowing people to make videos as well as writing papers. So that's something that you can practice. And you might want to do that if a professor gives you that option, just so that you can practice these skills. And then it sounds like you could actually make a 10-second, 20-second video that you can use just like a writing sample for when you go to an interview. Any other questions? This is, if you ever have me, you know that this is like kind of par for the course. Sorry.
I was wondering if you still jump on tables in the middle of your lectures when you're trying to make a point.
Not anymore, because I think I would hurt myself, but I am older, a lot older.
Aren't we all?
But yes, once upon a time, I jumped on tables. I would also even roll on the floor if I needed to make an emphasis, but that was not so fun. Anyway, more questions, Brandon.
Well, real quick, I can't help myself, librarian. If you want a free video software to use and to play around with, there's a website called Shotcut. And it's a free download. I think it's open source, but it's pretty expansive. You probably need to go into YouTube and watch a couple of tutorials to really be able to wrap your brain around it. But like I said, it's free. So if you just want something to play around with and try to sharpen any type of video skills, I would definitely suggest checking it out.
Oh my God, this is why librarians are heroes. Yay, I love that. Good, fabulous. More questions, anybody? Comments?
Can I add something to Brandon's videos editing thing? I just wanted to say also, like, when you're looking at jobs, like, I know this is a lot of stuff to take in, but, you know, if you apply for something that maybe you can't do, like the shotcut.org, I did not know that was a thing, but you know, there are plenty of videos and resources that can teach you how to use various programs. I mean, I was doing podcasting during the pandemic, and that's how I learned how to edit a podcast by myself. So when in doubt, there's always tons of resources to go to for you to learn how to do something so that you at least have the basics down, and that can get you pretty far.
What a great point. And, you know, one of the things I want to just mention is that a number of people talked about how they had to pivot, how they had to be resilient and adaptable. And for some people that was because of the pandemic. For other people, it was just who this was pre-pandemic. It was just part of the sort of job evolution. This is a really great thing to keep in mind, that every time you do a social media post, every time you make a video or learn how to do some new skill set, you don't know where it's going to take you, but it's another skill that you can build on. So for sure, you know, go to any of these people who've mentioned these things, that if this is of interest to you, or if you're curious about how to take it further, because clearly, look at all the crazy information that they've offered up, and they all started out as readers, okay, and people who like to write, and that is the point, right? Is that skill set is so adaptable and expansive. So you just have to have courage. You have to, you know, reach out to any of us who are talking to you tonight, because we all know a little bit about these things, and none of us maybe knows as much as we'd like to, but it's all out there. There's a lot of help for you here. Anybody else have comments or questions to add? And I see that Brennan put the Shotcut in, and Troy put in Audacity team. So thank you. That's great resources. Anybody else have more comments or questions tonight?
Just going off your comment now, Annie, I'm just going to say, you know, when you're starting out, early in your career path, you know, if you just show up and you're willing to learn and you're open to being really new and listening to what other people have to tell you, and you stick with it, like that, I think that's like 95% of what being successful is all about. And smile when you're at work. I always I think of it as like when I'm working with my coworkers and, you know, other people at Pine Rest, I look at it as like, I want to give them the very best version of me. Like I want to give them great customer service. So I actually pull back from my days of waitressing. Like, oh, I want to give you, you know, your margarita and maybe a free appetizer because, you know, whatever. I want to give them that great customer service. So just keep the good attitude. And
That's so important. That, Sarah, that's brilliantly said, because look, you know, use your classroom experience. That's what it's for. You're developing your ability to be an interactive human, because that's what it is. Like right now, us talking to you and you asking questions, that's what it is. We all need to be able to work collaboratively with our whoever we're, you know, figuring things out with, and you can do that, but sometimes you need to practice it, right? And so use your classroom for that. Use your ability to write, to reach out for, you know, support via email. Use your research skills to, you know, develop your knowledge. For example, if you're going to one of these interviews, definitely research it beforehand. Definitely figure out what kinds of products they offer. What can you bring to the table? All of these things. You guys are question askers. Ask those questions. Be engaged. This is how all of your life will, you know, radiate out from that. That curiosity, that engagement, that desire to be a collaborative human being. So for sure. Anybody else have more questions or comments? This is such a great panel, y'all. You have everyone's email, mine, Rachel's, Emily's, and the panel. So please reach out to us if you have questions that occur to you as you are mulling over all of this. This event will be processed and available as a video, but it probably won't be for at least a few weeks to a month or so. Emily, did you want to say anything else? Rachel, you?
You can also take a look at prior career nights. We have those posted online as well. So I think we've got about 3 of those, don't we?
Yes.
And sometimes those are worth taking a look at too, because we obviously have different panel members and different organizational members joining us in those videos too. So, you know, you can access those anytime.
Yeah, I just want to thank you all for being here. I always love being involved in this event. And I think a lot of really awesome things were shared. One of my favorite takeaways that I always love from conversations with, you know, more arts and sciences type majors is that, you know, your things you're doing in the classroom are valuable, and, you know, don't discount your service industry skills and all of these other experiences that provide so many transferable skills. I myself was a comm student, and so I definitely feel you all, like where you're coming from. So thanks to everyone, and I hope you have a lovely night.
I'm just going to tag one more thing, because I thought